can wrap other views with to provide swiping actions. So here I built the Build Your Pizza app, and we have a base price of a pizza of $12, and then we can choose different toppings. So pepperoni's been selected for us by default and gives us a total of $14, so they charge $2 for pepperoni. I can add additional items, let's say mushrooms, by simply swiping and clicking on the price to confirm it. So 80 cents for mushrooms, my price is now $14.80. Let's add on some sausage. I'm going to drag that, click the $1.75, and I'm up to $16.55. Maybe I also want extra cheese. $19.05, and finally we'll add some black olives. Well, I decided I really don't want pepperoni, so I can swipe to the left and exclude it. Now my price has gone down. So if I exclude all of these, I'm back down with the base price of a cheese pizza being $12. And let's just make a Hawaiian pizza with Canadian bacon and pineapple, and that's $15.20. Let's take a look at the project. I'm going to use a list for the different toppings that will be displayed. So I created a class called topping.cs to model the data, and I have a string of topping name, a color of topping color. That's going to be that whether it's green or white based on whether it's chosen or not. The topping price, and then the display price simply formats the topping price as currency, and that's what we use on the SwipeView item that's hidden when we swipe to the right. I built two constructors. One that takes the topping name, the price, and the color, and one that does not take the color. And they both also set the display price as an internal property to that string value. The XAML is built inside of a stack layout, and I just used the basic template and used the frame that had a label in it or a couple labels in it, and had that at the beginning of my stack layout. So here's our label. It's basically going to say build your pizza. The second one's named label instructions, and I'm going to set the text of that inside the code behind with C#. Then I have a collection view. And that's going to be all the toppings. Collection view template, data template, and here's my swipe view. Give it a background of white, although that really is not pertinent. Swipe view write items. So moving to the right, we're going to execute that and set the background color of the swipe item to red and its text to exclude. And it's going to invoke the swipe item exclude handler in our code behind of C#. Ending swipe item, ending swipe view.write items, and then our swipe view.left items. Here we're going to use swipe behavior on invoked of auto for our swipe items. And our first swipe item, actually our only swipe item, is going to be text. We're going to bind it to the display price. And we'll set up the binding in the C# as well. Notice I named the collection view CV Toppings. We'll refer to that in code. I'm going to set the background to green. That green is going to be the darker green of the swipe view item that is revealed when we swipe to the right. I used a dark green because you cannot change the text color apparently at this point, and so you're stuck with a white, and a white with the lime green color is what I wanted, just does not show up very well, and I can change the text to black. So that's why I used a darker green. And then my handler here is going to be swipe item include. A couple comments: closing swipe items, closing our swipe view left items, and then a stack layout that contains a label, and that label is going to be bound to the topping name. I set the padding to 10, font size to 24, background color will be bound to the topping color of the item. And that's going to allow us to change the colors from green to white as we swipe left to right. Set the font attribute to bold and vertical text alignment to center. I played around with these numbers a little bit. If you have a smaller device, you might want smaller font sizes, smaller padding. Closing my swipe view, closing the data template, closing the item template, and the collection view. And then I have another frame beneath that collection view, and it simply has a background color of kind of a purple. Give it some padding, some corner radius is 0, and inside that I put a label that I named LBL bottom. And it basically is the label that was there in the template So it said, welcome to Xamarin Forms. We're actually going to replace that in our code. And horizontal text alignment center. I set the text color to white, font size 24, and made it bold. So that's the XAML code. Pretty straightforward. Basically a frame inside a stack layout with a collection view, which is going to be our items or our toppings, and then a frame at the bottom. It's going to basically reflect the price, what we're going to do in that frame. Let's take a look at the code. So here's our C# code behind. I have a list of type topping that I named Toppings. It equals a new list of type topping. I created an observable collection of type topping as well and named it Toppings Updated, simply as a new observable collection of type topping constructor. I included the observable collection because I needed a non-anonymous source for updating when we swipe. If we just use the list, it wasn't updating for me correctly. Then I have a double variable called base price. It's going to equal $12. That's the base price of a cheese pizza. For our main page, we're going to initialize the components. I'm going to set that LBL instructions to swipe right and tap revealed price to include green, swipe left to exclude, base cheese pizza equals, and then I'm going to take the base price and convert that to a string with currency. Then I do it this way so that if I want to ever change that base price, I only need to change it here. I don't need to change it multiple places. Here's where we're going to populate our toppings list. So we're going to add some new toppings. And I'm simply adding in the name of the topping and the price, except for on the pepperoni, we're going to make that the default. And we'll set that color to lime using that 3-parameter constructor rather than the 2-parameter constructor. And everything else is just the 2 parameters. I'm going to set CV toppings, that was my collection view item source, to toppings. So initially I'm setting it to the list. My double price is going to equal base price plus toppings element 1. That's going to be my pepperoni. Extra cheese was 0, pepperoni is 1. Dot topping price. And so that's going to be my $2. That's going to set my price then to 12 plus 2 to $14. And I'm going to place that into that LBL bottom label in the bottom frame, setting the text to price, space, and the price converted to a currency. Now I created a method called update toppings, in which I'm going to pass it a string item and a color. And this is what I'm going to use to change the color of our toppings items in the list. So toppings updated.clear, that was my observable collection. I'm going to set the price to the base price, and then for each topping in toppings, I'm going to go through and look at, is the topping name compared to the item 0? Does it match? So use that compare to compare strings. If it is a 0, it matches, then we're going to set the color to whatever color it is. And I set the color as an argument here so I could call this method and pass it either the lime green or white, depending on if we're including or excluding. Then I'm going to add toppings updated with the topping name, the topping price, and the topping color. So calling the constructor, and it's going to do that regardless of whether the item is a match or not. So for all the items, we're going to basically copy the items from our toppings list to our toppings updated observable collection. And if the item is lime, the color is lime, I'm going to increase the price incrementally by the topping price of that item. Then CV toppings.item source equals toppings updated. That should update my collection on the fly, and I'm going to update the price to be whatever the price is based on those items that were selected. Then I have a SwipeView item include and a SwipeView item exclude. Those were the two handlers we created in our items left and items right swiping. So all we're doing here is basically getting the item that was swiped, going to get its name. And I was doing a little testing here. I'm going to comment out that line. I don't need that. I was just testing, make sure the name was coming up correctly. So we're going to set that item to selected item as a topping, and then selected item.topping color is going to be color.white for excluding and color.line for including, and then we're simply calling the update toppings. I have another little piece of code here that's playing around with just swiping left and right and trying to figure direction without doing the swipe items. I'm actually not using that, and it could be excluded. In fact, I'm just going to comment that out. And once again, we'll just run this. So there's my emulator. Let's have like sausage and black olive mushroom pizza. So I'm going to get rid of the pepperoni. Add in the sausage. Add in the mushroom. And add in the black olives. And I'm up to 1515. Everything seems to work. That is how we use the SwipeView. If you just jumped into this video, you can see all the videos from the C# Xamarin Programming Cohort playlist by clicking on the image in the lower right. And if you'd like to be alerted to future videos that I create, you can click my picture up in the top right and subscribe to the channel.